In 2024, we had 6 new Pokemon TCG sets get released. As pull rates have gotten more difficult in the Scarlet and Violet era, we're seeing a lot of the top chase cards maintain pretty high values. So now that 2024 is coming to a close, let's take a look at the top 10 most expensive Scarlet and Violet era cards. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. The top 10 Scarlet and Violet era Pokemon cards. I feel like 2024 we started to see some increased value in these cards along with like the difficult pull rates. I feel like as artwork has kind of stepped up, more popular Pokemon other than Charizard have been printed, and the difficult pull rates of course that I just mentioned, it's going to cause these cards to maintain higher values and release at a higher value than we saw it back in 2023. Now I thought this would be a fun video to make considering it looks like we're going to have some really big sets coming out in 2025. I feel like this whole list is going to change drastically by this time next year, and it'll be fun to reflect and see what new cards come out, and if any of these cards maintain value or stay on the list. I feel like Bubble Mew, Greninja, and Pikachu have the best chance, but time will have to tell on that. I was also planning on making this a top 10 special illustration rare video, but 2 cards in the top 10 are not special illustration rares, so I'm going to put the 9th and 10th most expensive special illustration rare right here as honorable mentions. At number 10, you have Alolan Executor from Surging Sparks. We're going to have a lot of Surging Sparks cards on this list just because that is such a hyped up set. It's new. There's not enough of it out there for collectors. A lot of these cards are kind of inflated in value, at least that's my opinion as of now. But Alolan Executor right now, $76.80. And at number 9, you have the Hydreigon. This is probably my favorite card from the Scarlet and Violet era so far. I really like this one. I haven't seen it in person yet. Looking forward to it. But it's sitting at about $86.36 right now. Not quite in the top 10, but an amazing card. All right, now into the real top 10 Scarlet and Violet era singles. But first, did you know 82% of you aren't subscribed to the channel? If you find yourself enjoying my content at any point, enjoying this video at any point, hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. Let's start 2025 off strong and hit that 4K soon. Thanks for watching. Now let's get back to the video. All right, number 10 on the list, we're looking at Raging Bolt from Temporal Forces. This card saw a lot of price growth over the last couple of months here. It was as low as $70, but is now upwards of $106. Like most of you know, I'm Canadian. I'll be sure to have the Canadian prices on screen here as well for you guys to look at. But Raging Bolt, man, this is a nice card. A lot of people really like this one, and a lot of people really like Temporal Forces. I think it's a sleeper set. We'll have to see if this one keeps going, but for now it just made the cut at number 10 of the Scarlet and Violet era. Next up from Surging Sparks, I wasn't joking when I said Surging Sparks is going to take up a lot of this list. We've got a few more cards after this one, but we have Milotic Special Illustration Rare. This one's really nice. A lot of people think it's going to grow even more. It doesn't seem to be moving as much. There's way more popular cards out there, but it is very beautiful. It goes great with that Feebas. You know, a lot of people like those combined artwork cards. Right now, sitting at number 9, $135. All right, this is where it changes from special illustration rares to the first hyper rare on this list. This is kind of an outlier in regards to pretty much every hyper rare released. You look at a set like Chilling Reign, you've got the Snorlax hyper rare that stands out, but I can't really think of any other gold chase cards in many sets. But anyways, Pikachu hyper rare from Surging Sparks is sitting at $140. Pretty solid price. It looks to be dropping, but this is a very difficult card to pull, so I think there is chance it's going to maintain even if we see a Surging Sparks reprint. It might drop to like $100, but I doubt this is ever going to be a really cheap card. Next up, Paldean Fates Charizard at $160. This is actually not even at its 1-year high. On release, it was sitting more like $185. It dropped as low as $100 throughout 2024, but has bounced back pretty strong. I think it's going to slow down a bit. Like I've said in previous videos, a lot of collectors are going to be heavily focused on prismatic evolutions and whatever trainers Pokemon are coming out. I feel like some of these big hits or some of these cards that grew rapidly over the last 3 months are going to start settling down. I don't really see too much price growth on a lot of these going through 2025. A card that could see price growth though, as Paldea Evolved gets harder and harder to find and more expensive to crack open, you've got the Magikarp Illustration Rare. This is the 6th most expensive card in all of Scarlet and Violet so far, and it seems to be a card that every time it hits a high, it dips a little bit and then just goes even higher. Like, I remember this card being expensive at $150, but right now it's sitting at 197. Really solid. I don't think anyone really expected this card to be worth anything near this value when it was released, but just in the course of this calendar year, it's gone from $67 to 197. It's up almost 200% in value. Now, we already had a Charizard on this list, but it's Pokemon. You need more than one Charizard in any list, am I right? Not like we're sick of Charizard. We've got the Charizard from 151 sitting at $200. By far the most expensive card in 151. I think number 2 right now is the Venusaur at about $80. So Charizard blows it out of the water at $200. Very strong card. I feel like with the Blooming Waters coming up, it might dip a little bit. Might be the best chance to buy this if more of it gets put onto the market. But I feel like this is going to be a strong one. I feel like this will stay in the top 10 of the SV generation. Unless we see an owner's Charizard come out or like a Rocket's Dark Charizard or something. This seems to be the fan favorite, and I think it will stay higher than the other 3 that we have seen. Next up from Surging Sparks, again, are you sick of Surging Sparks? Because I'm not. We've got Latias EX Special Illustration Rare sitting at $240. I know there's a lot of Latias fans out there. I feel like that Latios GX alternate art, like the Lovebird card, has really helped this card stay at a premium. A lot of people love that card, and I feel like it makes people want to collect Latios, but that might just be a theory in my mind. It's a very beautiful card. I do feel like there's better in Surging Sparks, but this one's sitting high up there at number 4, $242. Next up is the Bubble Mew. This card is finally slowing down a little bit, but I don't think it's going to dip too much. We'll have to see if more Paldean Fates gets on the market, but I haven't really been seeing it around too much lately. There are still ETBs you can get, but I haven't seen any restocks in like a Walmart or a GameStop or anything for really any Paldean Fates product in the last few months. But hitting a high this year of $305. This card was under $75 about 11 months ago. Crazy that it increased over 220% up to $305. Is now sitting $263. Still a very expensive card, and one that I think is going to be iconic for the Scarlet and Violet era. Speaking of iconic, we have the first card that really came out the gate swinging and maintained a high value with the Greninja from Twilight Masquerade. This is when we saw pull rates actually get difficult, more like pulling an alternate art. Really, really tricky to hit this card compared to a card like the Iono, we'll say, from Paldea Evolved. I think a lot of people have been hoping this card would slow down. It hasn't really like boomed like crazy, but it has just steadily grown in its lifespan. On release, it was about $160, which I think people thought was expensive, but then when everyone realized how difficult it was to pull this card, it just kept going up. 3 months after release, it was like $300 and has steadily climbed just a little bit more to about $320. When I think of like Scarlet and Violet era top chase card right now, I think of Greninja before I think of the next card, Pikachu, and I feel like the Greninja is going to stay stronger than the Pikachu will. But again, only time will tell as we see what's in store going into 2025. And now finally, the top chase card of the Scarlet and Violet era, the most expensive card we have right now, is the Pikachu from Surging Sparks. It's sitting at about $480, down from its high. Its high was $576, which is ridiculous. This is a card everybody wants. People love it. It's a tough card to pull. It's a set that was underprinted, and it was like the perfect storm. A lot of people came back into the hobby with TCG Pocket, with Prismatic Evolutions, people realizing 151, the 1 year anniversary, the Costco stuff for 151. The community kind of went crazy for a second there. A lot of people returned, a lot of new people came in, and Pokemon wasn't ready for that. I don't know why they didn't line up like print more products with the release of TCG Pocket. I'm sure the plan for TCG Pocket was to bring people into the TCG, but maybe it was more of a success than they expected. Surging Sparks wasn't printed as heavy because sets like Paradox Rift, Obsidian Flames, Temporal Forces were not selling as well as they wanted, so they printed less of it so less would be sitting on the shelves. And boom, it's impossible to find. I went to a few GameStops over the last couple weeks. Everyone said, they get Surging Sparks in, they'll get a few hundred sleeved packs or whatever, and they're gone within days. Surprising to me that they don't have a limit on them now. They used to limit you when there was a lot of product available. Now they don't. But anyways, Surging Sparks, man, this stuff is gold. I feel like it's bound to be reprinted at some point. I know there's other good sets out there to reprint, but They reprinted Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage when those were like really bottom tier sets compared to what else came out after it. I don't think there's anything stopping them from revisiting this set and Twilight Masquerade for a reprint. So I do think this time next year, this Pikachu EX is going to be a little bit lower in value. And I also think there's going to be some better cards coming out. I'm interested to see where the evolutions from Prismatic Evolutions fall onto this list. I know on release they're going to be big cards, very expensive cards. I feel like the Master Balls are going to be really sought after. But after 3 to 6 months, it'll be interesting to see where they kind of settle and to see what else comes out. I know we've got some teasers for what is it, Battle Partners or Journey Together, whatever it is, the Japanese version of it. I'd expect a lot more of that set to be shown to us in the next month. I'd also expect us to get some teasers for that was Black Bolt, White Flare, the black and white themed set. And I'd expect some Team Rocket teasers coming around Pokemon Day at the end of February. So I want to ask you guys before we get out of here today, do you think any of these are going to maintain their spot on the list? Out of all these cards I mentioned, all 10, I guess you can include Hydreigon, Alolan Exeggutor, anything else that's not on this list. What do you think will be the strongest of the first and second block Scarlet and Violet cards this time next year? Do you think Pikachu will maintain? Do you think Greninja will pop off? Do you think the EV-IR is a sleeper and it's going to end up here right beside Magikarp? Let me know in the comments below. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for a great 2024. I've got a few more videos coming out before the new year. At least, fingers crossed we do. I feel like I'm getting a little bit sick, but we'll have to see. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace!